some of these anxious faces, nervous energy being dissipated. Always the most difficult part of any race, the moments before the gun.
Yeah, we see in the past, because of the footing at the end of each race, we'll come across 4 or 5 spikes that are actually kicked, stuck in the mud, that actually were sucked right off the legs or off the feet of the individuals.
All preparations in place. Actually, a very good wide starting area for these athletes. Previous years, the start has been a little bit more compact.
And you mentioned in a sense about that first turn going in. On this course, the way it lays out, it's very important to get out pretty quick. For those who like to be a bit patient on a cross-country course, this will be a problem today. Because of the quality of the field, because of the size of the field, because of the footing, it is very difficult on a course like this to try and make up ground.
Well, that's the nature of most all cross-country. Get out hard, hit your position, because the talent is so strong that it's hard to really make any. You're getting such a high rate of your overall performance, it's hard to lift your rate. And we are off. Nike Cross Nationals 2012 in the girls competition. And I know that last year, in speaking to our champion, Sarah Baxter, she got swallowed up a little bit at the start, and it took her a while to move through the pack up to the front. And she did not move into the lead for good until past the 3-kilometer mark.
Yeah, and I thought last year she was a favorite coming in, but people didn't really know about her. She had the poise to move up. I think she was clearly superior physically. She could afford to bide her time and be patient and eventually move up. But usually, and it's going to get tougher even this year with this kind of a field, you see a lot more aggression, I think, from some of our top individuals coming in.
Well, Karen Shalane, talk about the role of favorite. You've both been in it before. Some people embrace it. Other people try to tampen that down and don't leave expectations low. How do you look at that? I think Sarah is sort of somewhat of a shy girl.
Yeah, I think she is a little reserved. I talked to her a little bit yesterday, but she has to have confidence in who she is and what she's done. And there's no doubt about it. She knows she's, she's the class of the field here right now, and it's just keeping that controlled and keeping within yourself, and she'll be fine.
Well, you can see this a little bit of a separation already, starting the tip of the spear, so to speak, starting to identify itself. Does that look like Amy Eloise Neal? As we take a look at our different gator shots, there's number 15. I see Gianna Frontera, the New York number 3 runner. We've got, once again, 2 gators, the lead gator and the chase gator. Definitely is a strong early front runner.
And pretty soon we'll be getting the 1K splits. All the athletes here wearing timing chips, one on each spike here. So we'll be able to get team scores as well as kilometer splits.
And just to let you know, just a couple of years ago, I just took some splits down. It was like 239, somewhere in that range, 235 to 240 for the first kilometer generally on this course. So that's number 168, who's out in the front. Heather Bates. She's from Colorado Springs, cross country. And now number 14 moving to the front, Bella Berta from New York, number 2.
She was a very nice surprise at the New York Regional last weekend. Really came up and finished for second close behind Mary Cain.
So it looks like our favorites are taking a little bit more, not at their leisure certainly, but they're taking their time. They're number 17 on the screen, Kennedy Jensen, New York's number 5 individual runner. And you might see some runners with a red armband. Those are the projected fifth person on their particular teams, because it's every bit as important who the 5th person is as is who's the 1st person, especially so obviously here in cross country.
Right, in the team competition, the number 4 and number 5 scores in each team plays such a huge role in the overall team score. If you're an elite runner and you're off 15 seconds, that might affect your team score by maybe 10 points. If you're a number 4 or 5 scorer and you're off 15 seconds, that's going to balloon your team score 70, 80, 90 points. Because those 4 and 5 runners are critical to the overall team chances for success.
So you can see some movement right there on the screen right now, and that's what everyone does, is sort of try to pick out. I know in conference and league play, everyone sort of chooses. I mean, if you have a very distinct first, second, third, fourth, and fifth man, you sort of say, okay, that's my responsibility to that person. Shalane, do you do that? Okay, that's my job as the number one runner. Okay, my job is to be their number one runner.
Absolutely. It's, you know, it's a little bit of mathematics out there. But yes, if you can track and kind of hunt down, you pick out those people that you should be eyeing the entire time and keep close to them. And then hopefully, you know, those final straights or in those last miles, yeah, you're chasing them down and you're beating their number one or their number two.
Well, Chris Olinsky is on our lead gator. I don't know if he can hear us. Chris, can you hear us? What do you see?
You guys, you know, I see a lot of individuals. There's not a whole lot of team ladies up in the front pack. We've got a couple, but you see Sarah kind of sitting back off the lead and Mary Cain kind of stalking her a little bit as they're trying to stay on their feet through all the mud.
Here's a look at our scores. 99, 274, 314. Manlius Carroll, Lower Bucks. And Manlius with a very powerful early lead here, Rich.
Yeah, definitely. But you know, not much of a surprise there. Scoring 100 points. Right now, at the 1K split, already well in front, leading by 175 points. They want to come out and really put the pressure on anybody else to try and make up ground on this terrible footing.
Andrew Weeding is on our chase gator. Andrew, do you hear us and see anything?
Yeah, I'm out here. I'm definitely, you know, there's a lot of mud everywhere, but you kind of see a plethora of different colors running everywhere. But yeah, you said it, Manlius has definitely got a good control over this field.
Do you see any, what's the team circumspect? Do you see people with the fifth armband?
Yeah, you see they're usually running pretty close, tight pack with a few teammates. Manlius himself has actually got their fifth man pretty close. So it's definitely safe to say Manlius has got a pretty good lead right now.
All right, well, thank you so much. I can tell you what they had at the Manhattan Invitational, or I think they had a 19-point spread, a 19-second spread, 1 through 5. It's just extraordinary, really.
Right. The number 5 goes to regional Jillian Barger. Right now, she's currently about 25 to 30 overall in this race, and that's including the individual. So team scoring-wise, Manlius really putting the hurt on the field early on, just beyond the first kilometer.
Well, Jillian Fanning was 4th in the overall competition last year, but hasn't been quite the same this year. And talking to Coach Bill Harris, saying she's more in the role of a team runner. I mean, still very strong, but not quite that individual way ahead of the pack this year. We can go through the team: Katie Brislin, Alana Pearl, Annika Avery, Jillian Fanning, Jillian Barger, Jenna Farrell, and Michelle Duffy.
All these girls know their role. They know how critical it is, every single position on here. Not only just for the top 5, but also those 6 and 7 are displacement scorers. Every time they finish ahead of a score from somebody else's team, that pushes their score up. So every single person is key. You're not going to find any better students of the sport in its preparation than the Manlius girls.
Well, 6 of their 7 from the championship team last year are back this year. So the experience is there, the legacy is there. 6 straight titles. Interesting. No repeat champions on the boys race. 6 straight for the girls.
Right, definitely. And also in the girls, even before Manlius, we've had now, this is our 9th championship. In the previous 8, all 8 times won by a New York team. In year 1, it was Kinetic. Year 2 was Hilton. And ever since then, it's been Manlius. But so far, the New York region, the Empire State, 8 for 8.
Well, you've got Madeline Perez from the Heartland is up in the lead, number 43. And she is U.S. ranked in the top 25, certainly, from Glenbard West in Illinois, 2nd at the NXN Midwest region this year, and 1st in the 3A state meet.
Yeah, and definitely. At the Midwest Regional this year, the winds were very, very fierce. So right here, this is a very great situation for them. They're used to the cold, but those winds were brutal at the regional meet. Not quite as bad as the Heartland Regional. It was freezing. The wind chill that day at the Heartland Regional was 2 degrees.
Well, Madeline Perez right now leads the way. Katie Knight, Sarah Baxter, right there. And again, Sarah Baxter doesn't, I mean, she blows these records out, but it's one thing to run. We talked to her earlier, and she was saying how her high point of the season was Mount Sac. She just felt better on that starting line. Again, Shalane and Cara, some days you can do a warm-up, you don't feel good, but then all of a sudden you really nail it. And other times you feel great, and it doesn't happen during the race. How far into a competition do you know that some days you're not pushing, you're being pulled?
Yeah, some days you just work into it and you know it's not your day and you kind of accept it and make the most of it. And then some days you get out there and you just are on fire. And I think for Sarah, that Mount Sac race, she was on fire. I actually watched the video footage. I was so impressed. I think she's a great future star for us.
Yeah, people are talking about her in terms of perhaps the best ever, which is really quite something. But let's go out to Chris Zielinski. Chris, what's the makeup here in the lead pack?
Well, Sarah just kind of asserted herself rather effortlessly, and she seems to be putting her foot on the pedal a little bit to see what these other girls have left. I think she's trying to put the hurt to some of the girls who might have a stronger finish at the end, and we'll see if she can put some more distance on them over these hay bales coming up.
Yeah, and is Katie Knight, she wearing that yellow outfit? I believe she was in second place, Katie. You know, Rich, Katie Knight had said sort of, she had mono earlier on in the season. Even she was a double state champion here in Oregon. Her times were not as fast this year as they were last year. And she was also third place last week at the Border Clash. But she and Amy Eloise Neal have had a great rivalry. Now it's become a friendship. But in that rivalry, they've just brought one another. She wins, she wins, she wins, she wins, back and forth. And all it does is elevate. It's like, really, again, here a classic example of Cara and Shalane used to be rivals. Next thing they start training together, now they're best of friends. There's a fine line, but you can do more together than you can alone.
If you're an elite level performer, you definitely want to have someone in your neck of the woods that's also at the same level to help push you, to help keep you motivated, to keep working hard in workouts, and obviously being sharp for race day. And those two have really fed off each other over the years and really helped each other become two of the very best in the nation. And as you mentioned before, now they're both going on to the University of Washington.
Well, there's those hay bales, and they don't see them a lot the first time you go over them, but second and third time start really taking a toll, especially when all that mud is there. And look at that very deep water all through this course. But now Baxter has opened things up. She's opened it much earlier than she did last year, a kilometer earlier.
Definitely. The thing with her is before Mount Sac, she was already training with the boys team and actually beating the boys from a pretty good program in hill workout. So her strength is becoming evident. And then at Mount Sac, she felt great. Again, ran 16 flat on a hilly 2.95 mile challenge. And then last week at the California State meet, she took down the state record there by a few seconds. And Tony, I kid you not, I did not see her pushing at any point in that race. She looked so good at the mile, at the 2 mile, and the finish at that state meet.
Well, she doesn't look like she's pushing here at all. She looks very elegant, very much in control. Right now, let's go out to Andrew Whitting and that Chase Gator. Andrew.
Girls out here, got a few of them packed together. Again, looks like Manlius is doing very good work, but I wouldn't count out the South. They've got very few of them up in the front pack, and we got Carmel back here, who's got potentially their fifth runner as well. So it looks like there's still a bit of an undecided winner.
Thank you, Andrew. And as we take a look at some of these runners, it seems like, I mean, they're working hard, but they don't seem to be totally taxed. Their faces look still very much fresh.
Yeah, definitely. But you don't underestimate that. Baxter, this is just so impressive right now. She's opening up here, looking really good on, again, a course that has very poor footing in certain areas. And she's finding her rhythm right now. And just physically, she's just on another level. Again, last weekend, she looked well within herself. And the thought was, she may be pointing, obviously, to try and be very sharp for this weekend, knowing the challenge ahead.
Well, she's beating Jordan Hesse records in California, Julia Stamp's records. I mean, these are long-standing records, some of them, and she's making mincemeat of them. And again, Mary Cain, a 4'11" competitor, and not even as an upperclassman in high school, just extraordinary talent as well. And look at the lead she's already established.
Right, definitely. And as we've seen, as the race goes on, she traditionally gets tougher and tougher. Really, her physical strengths really come out. The great story with Sarah, in a sense, I mean, we've seen so many elite individuals over the years when they get a very prestigious course record, then every week they're just pounding and pounding over another mark. She's been very controlled. They've been very selective in her racing, keeping her fresh, keeping her sharp. And again, in this challenge, you're going to see her one of her best performances, if not her best performance, in terms of focus, in terms of physically being rested and set.
Well, Chris Zielinski, what is the lead right now over Mary Cain? And how do both of them look to you?
Sarah, her face is really relaxed, but so is Mary. I think this is going to be a classic battle between, a strength runner and a kicker, and it'll be interesting to see how this last mile turns out, because they're laying it down right now, and we'll see if this gap can be closed.
Well, here's a look at our teams once again. 57, 197, and 214. Carmel, like Andrew pointed out, has moved into second place. He identified that fifth place finisher for us very well. But, geez, Rich, Manlius just doing the number as expected. Looked like number 7 already wrapped up.
Right. And coming right in front of us here is Baxter right here, and Cain in second, roughly about a good maybe 15, 18 meters behind. Katie Knight hanging tough in third.
Yes, it's not out of reach yet. Cain has the speed, but once again, as we saw in the community race, that finishing stretch is it's some of the worst footing on the entire course, and it's going to be hard to dig in and really get up. Shalane,
you're not going to be getting up on your toes in this last 100-meter stretch. There's a nice big puddle that you're going to have to kind of wade through to get to the finish line. So it's an arduous finish.
Right. So, Kara, what advice would you have for Mary? You just got to keep that as, I mean, if you have, it's almost like 1 or 2 steps of dry land. Who has the best, can identify the best route.
Yeah, it will be a little bit of luck, honestly, where they fall on the course. But this is just so exciting. I mean, these are the 2 future stars of American distance running. I'm just like excited just watching this right now. I think it's a really tremendous effort on both of them.
Well, this was the matchup, Rich, we anticipated, the best in the West and the best in the East. I was talking to Linda Kranick during the week, and she was saying she remembers the first time the East went against the West was in 1993, but it was only ad hoc. We didn't really see that much of it until these national championships, roared into position. And now all the kids throughout the year know exactly who they're shooting for, who their rival is, comparing times, comparing past times. The internet has done just an unbelievable job of elevating everyone's game.
Yeah, without a doubt. And also we've seen that not just individually, but also team-wise. We have this big carrot called Nike Cross Nationals, and these teams want to get here for all the fun and the competition and really get on that podium.
15:36 on the clock. And we're coming down near the end of this competition as the rest of this crowd of athletes come sweeping by our anchor location. And it's still Mary Cain trying to run down Sarah Baxter, the defending champion.
Looks like Sarah's opening it up quite a bit.
Yeah, a 7-second gap we see on the screen. Another 6 seconds back to Katie Knight. And it's just been a very controlled effort. It never looked like she showed effort, Kara.
No, she looks so good. I'm very impressed right now. She's very controlled. Her form hasn't broken down one bit. She hasn't been straining at all. She's ready to go today, and she's executing it perfectly.
I mean, great posture. And she's not hunched over into these conditions. She still has that very nice erect back. The lower back looks very good.
She's made for cross country, you can tell. She's got just the perfect form that powers through the mud and just no wasted energy.
She's actually runs very similar to Shalane. They have extremely similar forms, so that probably speaks pretty highly of Sarah's career.
I was over in Kenya in June at their Olympic trials, and I was talking to a number of the coaches and athletes and saying that you're not going to get these athletes much more fit than they are now. And the real difference you're going to make in athletes is biomechanics and the form. Form means everything. In the past, my generation, you wouldn't do any drills. You just go out and run hard. Nowadays, it's all those ancillary elements that support the training itself, which is making the difference in the longevity of the career as well.
Absolutely, prevents injuries, and it allows you to be a versatile athlete, run on cross-country courses, run on the roads, and run on the track.
Well, there's a lead all by herself. Sarah Baxter, Simi Valley, California, defending NXN champion, going for number 2 here today. And Chris Alinsky, it looks pretty obvious, doesn't it?
The string is broken. This race is over. Sarah still has a lot left in her. She's ready for anybody to make a move. Mary's trying to string it back up, but I think it's over. Up around this last hill and down the straightaway, and the national title is Sarah Baxter's.
Well, the crowd massing here at the finish line, the clock just turning 18 minutes. The temperature actually going up, and our park is becoming inconsequential. But this has been quite a performance by quite an athlete.
Right, definitely. Look at that. Quite a gap here on Mary Cain. Once again, an international talent in track and field. Great competitor in cross country, but Sarah is just dominating this race. conservative early on, and just really picking up kilometer by kilometer, and now really opening up. People wondering, where was she 2 years ago? As a freshman, she won the California State meet and decided to go ahead and back off and not pursue any races after the state meet. They want to go ahead and do more the national route her sophomore year. We saw her win the national title, and right here against an even deeper field, looking even more impressive this year.
Well, again, now it's how to marshal her forces, because we are talking, as Kara Schlane were mentioning, we're talking about this young lady in a 10-year span here. Where is she going to be in 10 or 15 years? And how she marshals her forces and doesn't over-race. You want to say yes to so many opportunities, but a lot of times you got to say no, and that's the hard thing to do.
Absolutely, you got to pick where the best opportunities and best stages to perform on and capitalize on those moments. And Sarah is definitely capitalizing today.
Well, here she comes to the finish line. 19:12 on the clock and counting as Sarah Baxter wins NXN 2012. And Mary Cain not far behind.
You're all right.
And they had quite a gap.
We'll see
Number
those
49,
two.
Katie Knight in third place.
Alexa Efraimson from Camas on the Northwest as well.
She was second at Border Clash last week. A great job. There's Amy Eloise Neal coming across the line. I saw Hagen Reedy, also California number 3, all under 20 minutes. And now they come across, and this is where the team competition really gets hairy, as every spot makes a difference. If you can pass 5 people with a strong finish, you can make all the difference. There's Manlius, and Manlius coming across. They've had a big margin throughout the entire competition, and we will see where here comes our third Manlius.
So far, a very large percentage of the finishers have been individual qualifiers. Not too many teams give you
There's fourth Manlius coming across the line right now and looking for one more yellow jersey. There's a Davis runner again. Lots of California, Northwest, Northeast, a lot of individual athletes.
Here comes Kinetics.
A couple of Kinetics right together. So we got 4 Manlius, 2 Kinetics. There's the 5th Manlius right here at 20:48.
Jenna Farrell closing out the scoring for Manlius. It looks like
Number
a
6.
title number 7. Number 6 finisher for Manlius also across as well.
Yeah, Jenna Farrell came across as 5th Manlius girl. And we haven't talked about Kinetic because it's been Carol and up there most of the way along with Carmel. But Kinetic we expected to be very strong. And now they're starting to show late in the race. And Kara, that was always the Colorado when you were in the University of Colorado because of the altitude. I know in talking to the coaches, you couldn't do the kind of speed work in Colorado that you could do at sea level. So you know your strength had to be your power, and you'd finish strong, and that's where you win your titles.
Exactly. We would plan that way. It would be a goal to move up throughout the race, and we wore black, and it was the goal to be that black cloud moving up. But other teams have different strengths. Manlius ran up front as much as they could. I had dinner with them a couple nights ago. They were very confident. This is something they've looked forward to all year. It was on the calendar all year, so it's good to see them execute really well.
And the girl just streaming across the line right now. 22 minutes on the clock. Here's a young lady that's number 107 who's had a nice little mud experience out there today.
Maddie Cain out of Carroll of Texas.
Yeah, the first time Maddie's been that muddy in her life, I'm sure.
Or at least the first time since last year at this same
Yeah,
venue.
exactly. But these are also where great memories are made. When you go this deep into the well with Confederates like this, I mean, there's a great bond that's created. Here's 2 more Kinetic team members coming across the line right now.
There you go. There you go.
2 more Carols right on their heels.
Get some air in. Okay, keep walking.
Just the quality of talent again coming in. 23 state team champions represented in the field overall today between the boys and the girls race. Well over 30 individual state champions. So you're not going to see any race anywhere in the country this deep, this strong in talent.
our volunteers and our officials at the finish line doing a great job, because one thing these athletes do is they give it everything they've got, and many of them there's nothing more than the final step, and they have to be carried. But they do recover quite quickly. But this means so much, and they try so hard. Another couple of Egan cross-country runners.
All right, Jessica, so you just finished. Tell us, what was the hardest part about this